Hello guys, today we're diving deep into the raw, unfiltered essence of a man whose life was less a biography and more a high-stakes, perpetual gamble with destiny. We're talking about Count Cagliostro. He wasn't just a ruler, he was a living embodiment of charisma at the extreme. So buckle up, because you're about to witness an epic tale of power, survival, and ambition unfold with a drama worthy of the grandest stage. Let's get into it. The very name Alessandro Cagliostro doesn't merely conjure an image, it conjures an atmosphere. The cloying scent of esoteric oils, the glint of stage-managed alchemy, the hushed, electric anticipation of a séance in a candlelit salon. His story is not just of an imposter, but of a cosmic performance artist, a mesmerizing architect of illusion who, through sheer force of will and an uncanny understanding of human desire, became a living myth. He wasn't simply a charlatan, he was the ultimate shapeshifter of the European Enlightenment, a man who dared to promise miracles and, for a dazzling period, seemed to deliver them, only to be consumed by the very flames of revolution and rigid dogma he sought to manipulate. Before the Count, there was just Giuseppe Balsamo, born on June 2, 1743, in Palermo, Sicily. His origins were rooted not in aristocratic splendor, but in the dusty, sun-baked alleys of a modest artisan family. Far from being a romantic figure from birth, his childhood was punctuated by an almost feral cunning. Sent to the seminary, he wasn't seeking spiritual enlightenment but escape from drudgery. He was promptly expelled for insubordination and a precocious talent for forgery. This wasn't the charming rogue phase. This was the street urchin learning survival, perfecting the art of the quick con. His early exploits were not glamorous. He famously partnered with a local goldsmith, setting up an elaborate scam involving a buried treasure that led to a furious mob chasing him out of Palermo. He engaged in petty larceny, document falsification, and even, reputedly, grave robbing, a chilling detail that hints at a pragmatic, immoral core. These weren't mystical pursuits, they were the bare-knuckle education of a survivor, teaching him to read human nature, exploit vulnerabilities, and always stay one step ahead. His early travels through Greece, Egypt, and the Levant were less spiritual quests and more desperate flights from creditors and the long arm of the law. Yet, in these travels, he did absorb fragments of Eastern mysticism, alchemical lore, and the burgeoning practices of mesmerism, carefully cataloguing them for future use. The pivotal moment of this metamorphosis was his marriage in 1768 to Lorenza Feliciani, a beautiful, intelligent, and strikingly sensual woman from Rome. Far from being a mere prop, Lorenza, whom he rechristened Serafina, was his indispensable partner. She wasn't just beautiful, she possessed a shrewd intelligence and a willingness to play any role, from distressed supplicant to alluring sorceress, a vital component of his increasingly elaborate theatrical productions. Their relationship, though complex and often transactional, was a formidable partnership in deception. The transformation from Giuseppe Balsamo to Count Alessandro Cagliostro was a stroke of pure, audacious genius. The name itself was a deliberate invention, rich with exoticism and a hint of ancient, noble lineage. He concocted an elaborate backstory, orphaned in Medina, raised by a mysterious prince, tutored by sages in the pyramids, and even claiming to have dined with Noah or been present at the crucifixion. These were not mere lies. They were myth-building, designed to tap into an era hungry for the miraculous, for escape from rigid dogma and the dawning coldness of rationalism. His Egyptian rite of Freemasonry was his masterstroke. It wasn't just a new lodge, it was a complete spiritual system, promising not just fraternity but immortality, spiritual regeneration, and direct communication with divine beings. He understood the longing for transcendence in a materialistic age. His rituals were elaborate and theatrical. Candlelit chambers, symbolic robes, arcane incantations. He used pupils, often young, innocent-looking boys or girls, who, while gazing into a crystal ball or a bowl of water, would fall into a trance and supposedly channel spirits or reveal hidden truths. This was not mere parlor trickery. It was immersive theater designed to create genuine belief, tapping into the subconscious desires of his wealthy clientele. He never explicitly asked for payment. Instead, he accepted donations, but these donations, whether in the form of lavish gifts, jewels, or outright sums, accumulated into a staggering fortune. He understood that refusing direct payment only enhanced his aura of selfless spiritual devotion. From London to St. Petersburg, from Strasbourg to Paris, Cagliostro became the sensation of Europe's elite. He was a chameleon, adapting his performance to each court's desires. The miraculous healer. His fame as a healer was phenomenal. He claimed to cure the incurable, from paralysis to consumption. His methods were a blend of actual herbal remedies, hypnotic suggestion, diet, and perhaps a touch of pure placebo effect, all wrapped in a profound mystical narrative. He rarely failed to inspire hope, and often genuine belief in his cures, whether they were truly miraculous or simply psychological. The alchemist of Ore, his alchemical demonstrations were legendary. He would seemingly transmute base metals into gold, or create magnificent jewels. These were often carefully constructed parlor tricks, involving hidden compartments, pre-prepared alloys, or clever substitutions, but performed with such conviction and showmanship that even the most cynical aristocrats were momentarily convinced. Imagine the gasps in a candlelit salon as dull leads seemed to shimmer into pure gold. The charmer of royalty, he didn't just meet royalty, he captivated them. In Strasbourg, his popularity was immense. He was treated like a living saint, establishing a free clinic and dispensing charity that seemed utterly genuine. In the court of Catherine the Great in Russia, he briefly charmed her powerful lover, Count Potemkin, before Catherine's own shrewd skepticism unmasked him. He had a magnetic presence, a piercing gaze, and a talent for telling people exactly what they longed to hear. His acts of charity, particularly in Strasbourg, were a shrewd, calculated move. By appearing genuinely selfless, helping the poor and establishing an orphanage, he enhanced his image as a divine benefactor, making his occasional lavish expenses seem insignificant in comparison to his supposed spiritual mission. He was a master of reputation management, long before the term existed. The affair of the diamond necklace was Cagliostro's undoing, less due to direct guilt and more to his fatal proximity to a scandal that swallowed the French monarchy. This was a true masterpiece of 18th-century fraud, a bewildering labyrinth involving the adventuress Jeanne de Valois-Saint-Remy, her lover, a master forger, a gullible Cardinal de Rohan, who longed for Marie Antoinette's favor, and a diamond necklace so valuable it defied imagination. Cagliostro was certainly known to Cardinal de Rohan, offering him esoteric advice and predictions, and exploiting the cardinal's desperate need for mystical guidance. He became a convenient scapegoat, a mysterious foreign sorcerer to blame for the unfathomable depths of the scandal. His arrest and imprisonment in the Bastille in 1785, the very symbol of royal oppression, inadvertently turned him into a martyr for some, a victim of arbitrary power. His sensational public trial, designed by the monarchy to clear Marie Antoinette's name, instead threw a harsh, unforgiving light on the court's own weaknesses. Although acquitted of direct involvement in the fraud, the public perception of him as a dangerous trickster, a foreign influence preying on French gullibility, was sealed. The verdict, while legally exonerating him, condemned him in the court of public opinion, tying his fate inextricably to the unraveling of the Ancien regime. He was, in essence, a lightning rod for the pre-revolutionary discontent. After the diamond necklace affair, Cagliostro's aura was irrevocably tarnished. Europe, reeling from the first tremors of revolution, became less tolerant of esoteric showmen. Driven by a baffling mix of arrogance, delusion, and perhaps a genuine spiritual compulsion, Cagliostro made the gravest error of his life. He returned to Rome in 1789. Perhaps he believed his divine protection was absolute, or that he could somehow influence the heart of Catholicism itself. This was a fatal miscalculation. The Holy Inquisition, the ancient bastion of Catholic orthodoxy, had been watching him for years. His Egyptian rite, With its claims of spiritual rebirth outside the church, its Masonic secrecy, and his audacious assertions of magical power, was a direct, blasphemous challenge to their authority. He was arrested, betrayed, some say, by Lorenza herself, possibly under duress or in exchange for her own freedom. His trial was no public spectacle. It was a terrifying, secret proceeding. Accused of heresy, sorcery, Freemasonry, and sedition, he faced an unforgiving tribunal. Accounts suggest he was subjected to harsh interrogations, perhaps even torture, to extract confessions and recantations. In 1791, he was condemned to death. But the Pope, Pius VI, commuted the sentence to perpetual imprisonment in the fortress of San Leo, a grim, almost mythical prison in the Papal States, now in Italy. Here, in a tiny, windowless cell known as the Pozzetto, Little Well, accessible only by a slit in the door, the once dazzling Count Alessandro Cagliostro was entombed. He had promised eternal youth, but he found eternal confinement. Stripped of his grand robes, his magical accoutrements, and his adoring audiences, he was left with only the silence of stone walls. Count Alessandro Cagliostro, the man who had dined with kings and whispered secrets to cardinals, faded into the silence of that solitary cell, dying on August 26, 1795. His passing was unremarked by the world, a stark contrast to the flamboyant life he had led. Cagliostro's demise was absolute, but his legend endured, growing larger than the man himself. The archetypal imposter, he remains the quintessential master of self-invention, a blueprint for countless fictional tricksters and illusionists. His name is synonymous with dazzling, yet ultimately deceptive, brilliance. A mirror to the age, his rise and fall perfectly reflect the intellectual and spiritual ferment of the late 18th century, a period marked by both the age of reason and a profound yearning for the occult, for scientific marvels, and for spiritual shortcuts. Cagliostro offered all of it. Literary muse, from Alexandre Dumas' memoirs of a physician to countless operatic works and philosophical treatises, Cagliostro's dramatic life has inspired generations of artists and writers, fascinated by the intersection of genius, delusion, and fraud. Goethe was deeply interested in his story. The shadow of revolution, his tangential involvement in the diamond necklace affair, inadvertently placed him at the very precipice of the French Revolution, solidifying his image as a disruptive force, a chaotic element in the unraveling of an old order. The power of charisma. Cagliostro's true magic wasn't alchemy, but his unparalleled charisma. He proved that belief, skillfully cultivated, could be more powerful than gold, more persuasive than logic, and capable of constructing an entire reality, however fleeting. Alessandro Cagliostro was not just a historical figure, he was a phenomenon. He was a living paradox, a charlatan who might have genuinely believed in his own powers, a schemer who performed acts of kindness, a man who sought earthly glory but was trapped by his own grand, impossible promises. He lived and died a prisoner, but in the annals of human ambition and the eternal search for meaning, his enigmatic shadow still looms large, a testament to the intoxicating allure of the miraculous.